And his question is, I haven't had gear for a few years and I'm looking for a new MIDI controller, DAW, and software instruments to get more into music again. I'm looking at complete control keyboards and software. What else might you recommend? Now, would you like to answer this live, or if I click on answer live, does that include Ivan, or can I just unmute him? What would you
I don't
all
know what
prefer?
Yeah, Kevin can go with that, I think.
I
Okay,
don't know what Answer Live does.
Let's find out.
perfect.
Yeah,
That's all right.
press it and see what happens if we.
Great. Is Ivan live? Ivan, are you live? Hello? Okay,
So,
no. All
yeah,
right.
just go ahead and answer the question, Kev.
All right. Well, we'll start. So it's going to go back to the original question that was asked a couple minutes ago. Obviously, you want to be able to use complete control, and complete control works fine in every one of these DAWs. So now it becomes, what did you use before? Are you Windows or Mac? JAWS, NVDA. I mean, it's like the whole name, rank, and serial number to figure out what's best for you. If you're familiar with, if you're familiar with, if you're already familiar with Windows, then stay there. If that's working for you. Same with Mac. So it just boils down to what have you used before? If you've never used anything before, then it's really going to be one of these. You're going to have to explore them all, and it sounds like a really daunting task, but it's worth it because you can kind of play in every one of these and then decide which one kind of has that. As weird as it sounds, like software to me is like it's ones and zeros and it's all very calculated, but when it boils down to using it, there's a gut thing that happens. Like when it's something that's really familiar to you, or even if it's new, but yet there's a mnemonic there, like there's things that work logically in your mind. There's this gut thing that happens and this connection between you and the computer, as new agey and weird as that might sound. But that's the thing you want to happen, to where the more you feel that connection, where you're not thinking about the software, you're just thinking about being creative and getting it done. And all of these DAWs do that for all different kinds of people. So I'd be interested to know for you, like what have you used before? Because that's going to help us better answer your question. And this piggybacks onto what Kim, I believe, asked in the chat. Are we using JAWS to access these programs? On the Reaper side on Windows, it is JAWS, NVDA, Narrator. It's pretty much across the board, because Osara, which is the overlay that works inside of Reaper, it talks to the screen reader in a sense, with a very standard interface. So therefore, you could have Narrator running, you could have JAWS, NVDA. I'm sure somebody's done it with System Access. So really, it doesn't matter. It's what is comfortable for you. So I think I was able to hopefully kill two birds with one stone. But Ivan, get back to us with where you were before you took a hiatus, so that we can kind of figure out where you want to be back to.
If you don't mind, Ivan has his hand up. I'm going to
hit it.
Yeah.
Okay.
See if his mic works.
Great. Ivan, are you there?
Sounds like
there we go. Muting is working now.
Great.
Hey, thanks everybody. So I used to do like QWS on Windows and no software synths, quite a few years ago. Now I'm using a Mac these days, and complete control seems like the way to go, but I don't want to, get sort of pigeonhole myself into that. So I'm curious if there's other perspectives.
So, in my opinion, complete control. There's a couple of things about Complete Control that make it the Complete Control ecosystem, to me, has a lot of upsides. Part of it is Complete Control is nothing more than a plugin host. That's all it is. It is a small little plugin host that happens to interface with some hardware. And so with that plugin host, you can decide on, you get like, if you got like Complete 12, you're now getting 70 products inside that plugin host, which then consists of like different plugins. So there's a bunch of contact instruments. So you get the contact plugin. There's Massive. There's FM8. There's Reactor. These are all plugins. And inside of those plugins are these so I've just lost my train of thought. The plugin host will then host all these different plugins like Contact and Massive, and inside those plugins are different products. Now, the upshot to this that makes it even further along is the fact that when you create the presets that overlay to the hardware, which then allow the hardware to speak different parameters, we can do that with any plugin. So since it's a plugin host, it can launch anything: addictive drums, a reverb, anything. And anything can be made to work with the speaking, the accessibility mode of the keyboard. Now, back to your question about the controller. There are 3 models of the Complete Control keyboards. There's the M32, which is the most inexpensive one, that has mini keys and it plays really well. There's the A40, the A25, 49, and 61. That's the middle of the road, still incredibly affordable, and that thing fell down an escalator and still worked. So they're built really well. And then there's the S series, which is the flagship. It's got the big screen. They're $600-700. That one I have here in the studio. I would not take it out because if it did fall down an escalator, I would probably cry. I did not cry when my A fell down an escalator because that was a $150 purchase. That that would be less of a hit to me if it died. So all of these can control Complete Control. The downside to these controllers is the fact that you buy these knowing that you're kind of locking yourself into using Complete Control. This is not like buying an Oxygen 8 from M-Audio with 70 billion buttons on it that can be remapped to do all kinds of crazy things, which if you're not using Complete Control, those are fine little controllers for this kind of stuff. But Complete Control, the keyboards, they have the touch sensitive knobs, which then when you touch them, they speak the different parameters. And when you browse for instruments and plugins and everything, all of that stuff speaks. That's an upside. The downside is you don't have a billion things to remap if you're trying to do a bunch of custom stuff. So you almost have to decide, what would I rather do? Do I need something that I can really customize uber amounts of MIDI event messages, or do I just need something that works so I can compose?
I think that customization seems, unlikely. It's a thought that, technical minded people, we all like that option, but I feel like the control surface accessibility combo in their keyboards is probably going to be worth the most. Like, I'm less likely, or maybe would be less successful depending on the accessibility from like a voiceover perspective. I'm less likely to go in and really like tune all the parameters in software.
Yeah, you want complete control then, man.
That also
the shortest route to getting some decent sounds and starting to get stuff down.
Hands down.
And the user interaction model, honestly, I'm not a big fan of it, but I can't really say that there's anything as comparably simple. So,
yep.
I think complete control.
I agree.
Probably going
if you want to create music,
probably be the way forward for you. maybe like one of the A series controllers is probably.
I was curious about the lack of aftertouch, essentially. Like
that's
how much that's leveraged in the instrument patches.
So the lack of aftertouch doesn't bother me because I'm not Jean-Philippe Reichel, who does the most crazy synth programming ever on the planet. But if aftertouch is a deal to you for certain things, I mean, there are patches that use it, but I have not come across anything where I'm using the S, I'm in the studio, and then I'm using the A going, boy, where did some of that go? It just doesn't matter to me, but I'm not, I've never really needed pressure, aftertouch pressure.
The patches I know I'm really going to want to crank on are like, bass guitars with like slides and fret noises and all that kind of stuff. And
you need complete, and what you need is all of the Scarby stuff. It's some of the most realistic basses you'll ever come across.
And then the organs as well. Like sometimes they'll use aftertouch to control some of those effects, but I'm not sure if those instruments in particular do that.
I have not seen the vintage organs. I've not tried aftertouch. But I don't even know if there's aftertouch in those bass patches. They're just so well programmed. And I've gotten away with an M32 programming bass parts on it. So I think you just have to kind of decide, what's my budget? What do I want to get away with?
The sustain pedal will also change what the Scarby basses do.
Yes.
Okay.
So I would just kind of look into and if I were you, I would spend less on the keyboard now. So get an A, or if you already have a controller you like to play, go get an M and use it as a little knob box that sits on the top of your keyboard. Some people like an 88 note motif, and I just say take an M32 and put it as a knob box to control, complete control, and then play your keyboard. But cheap out on the keyboard first. The reason I say that is because you want the money, where you want to spend the money is the sounds. So get if your budget can afford, the A series and then, complete 12 or something like that, go there as opposed to getting like an S series and then having to skimp out on the instruments. Cause the entry level complete select is, sorry.
It's okay, but not great.
So complete select is not my favorite. And the day that we had a WhatsApp participant really disappointed, when I'll get to what is aftertouch in a second. When we had a woman named Sammy Sweet Spirit who came on to the complete control and was just uber disappointed in complete select. She goes, I do acoustic guitar, I do live band mock-up stuff, and this is all EDM electronic, and that's not what I do. So how can I salvage this? And we found her some cheap libraries to get for now so that she could then build up the budget to upgrade. So if I were you, I would do sounds first and then upgrade your keyboard later. So go with an A or go with an M and do the sounds if you need to. If you got to do it in pieces, because I get it. It's not an inexpensive